Okay, welcome to the cockpit, which is quite small. The first thing that you may notice if you were thinking about Cessnas and Pipers and stuff, we have no yoke. That's because we have a centre stick, like a fighter pilot. This is what you use to fly with, and you share it between the two of you. So whoever's flying, well, you can have a fight over it if you want to, but whoever's flying on that side, fly their left hand. Fortunately, both Rich and Angus teach in these things all the time, and they always sit on that side, so they're used to it. Whereas me and Rob will be like, "What? You want me to swap hands? That's just silly." Anyway, so yeah, centre stick with what basically is a motorbike brake lever on the front, which controls the brakes on the wheels, which you obviously only use when you're in the ground. And it's not like when I first flew one of these, and being a motorcyclist and used to having the front brake in my right hand, was convinced that it would only work on the front wheel. Probably edit that bit out. That's a choke, it says choke on it. So you've got your stick, rudder pedals are conventional, and then you have a throttle. Don't mind looking at my crotch. You can grasp a very small knob in between your legs. This might be something the boys get to do all the time, but it's a bit of a novelty for me. So that's the throttle, and it does make the one on the other side move. So you could hit somebody in the balls if you really wanted to. Instrument wise, well actually, before we forget, there's the flaps. Yes, they're up on the roof. Nobody really knows why, they just are. Another brake lever. So you have two flap settings, which make those big flappy things on the wings move. And that's all to do with being able to fly more slowly, creating a little bit more lift when you want to land or take off. It's a crap explanation, and I'll probably get told off. So you got the flaps, you got your stick, you got your throttle, and you got your rudder pedals. In terms of instruments, it is fairly basic, let's be honest, but it does have everything you need. Vertical speed indicator, how fast you're going up or how fast you're going down. It's quite useful. You have altitude, how high up you are. That's the one that we hope to be bending way round, but not actually in this aircraft now that we're going in the super duper turbocharged 914 engine C42, which might do 25,000 feet. We don't know really. That is your engine RPM. It's just like on a car, it's telling you how fast it's going, and if you've pegged it all the way into the red, you don't want to hang around there for too long. Airspeed indicator, just like you would find in any aircraft, tells you how fast you're going in knots, although it does actually have a sub miles per hour, but work in knots because we just do. Like it'd be awkward. A big red starter button and a set of keys, just like a car. You got a few switches, not a lot. Mags for the engine, you have to have those on. Big red light, which tells you the engine is on. Generally the propeller and the racket are a bit of a clue. Fuel pump, strobe, position lights, it's just so that other people can see you underneath. We have the radio, so we can talk to people. Although, unlike some bigger aircraft, we can only talk to one person at a time. And there's no radio navigation or anything like that. It's just radio to talk to whoever's on the ground that we want to talk to, or that we don't really want to talk to. Trim. It does have trim. These little knobs on top of the stick. You trim. These two knobs, they do absolutely nothing. They're just there for fun. Oh, and you do have a little button on the front there, which is what you press when you want to talk to people on the radio. This is a transponder, which basically transmits a code so that people looking at you on radar and stuff know who you are, and they might even know what you're going to do, depending on whether you're in controlled airspace or what you're doing. But it basically just helps folk know that you're out there. And for the altitude attempt, because we're going up to heights where, you know, it's properly controlled stuff, you've got airliners and things up there, you have to have a transponder for that, otherwise you're just a little irritation flying around, nobody knows who you are, and the next thing you know you'll be finding yourself sucked into a jet engine, which would kind of suck. It's very convenient the way they write the registration number on the put it on a sticker on the dashboard, so that when you suddenly realise you're in a different airplane and you don't know what the number on the tail is, you can have a look. Another thing you got is your little slip indicator. It's kind of like a spirit level. You want to keep that little ball in the middle. And we have a compass, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's no radio nav, there's no GPS, rolling maps, although you can do that on an iPad on your knee, but as far as... And there's also, you'll notice, there's no artificial horizon. We have to fly looking out of the window, which at the moment shows you Blackbush's lovely airport, but you tell what you're doing by looking at the horizon, so that tells you if you're flying straight and level or not, and you navigate by looking at a map and translating that to having a look on the ground and looking for landmarks and following rivers and roads and power lines and things like that. Just doing it all visually, which is why we can't fly in cloud, and we can't fly at night either, because you can't see. Over this side, it's really just engine stuff. We have a fag lighter, just like you have in a car, which will be very useful because we'll need it to power the cameras and stuff. Oil pressure, oil temperature, cylinder head temperature. That's a fuel gauge, but you don't actually trust that too much. You generally have a look in the back and make sure. And that's Hobbs meter. That just tells you how long the engine has been running, so that you can keep track of for servicing stuff. And these are just circuit breakers, basically fuses. They just look slightly more swish than having little plastic ones. And it is all lovely carbon fibre, no less, for speed and performance. And I said that you would just look in the fuel tank. You literally do just look in the fuel tank. You reach behind you and through this little hatch. Oh look, there's the fuel tank. And you can see roughly how much fuel's in it, and you can also see all the way through to the back of the plane. So there's not a bulkhead or anything, there's just this little bit of fabric. And up above us is the big red handle, which is that's what you pull if you have to deploy the parachute, which you really don't want to be doing, but it is very nice to have it. So that's kind of it in here. There's not a lot of room. It probably looks okay, but see, I can stretch my hands out and it's fine, but I'm only 5'6". Rob is about 8'7", I think. So he's going to be a little bit cramped in here as we do maybe 8 hours a day getting down to Greece. I'm going to be reasonably comfy, although the seats are quite... we don't have any cushions in the seats. We don't have a lot of storage space. We have these little pockets in the doors. There's a bit of room up here. You could velcro a couple of things to the top of the dashboard. You got a little bit of pocket action in here. Bits of rubbish. And if I climb out for a second, there's a bit of room under the seats, where you can store a few bits and bobs. But that is kind of it in terms of storage, which probably goes some way to explaining why we are doing the super lightweight, super compact camping equipment, and Basically trying not to carry lots of crap with us that we don't need, because we can't afford the weight, and we don't have the space anyway.